Hello class. Before we proceed to other subjects, I would like to insert this topic, principles in corporation law, because of its importance and the fact that you will encounter them many times in the corporation code. These principles are very important with regards to corporation law. Okay, so konti lang naman siya. I'll just discuss this first before we'll proceed to board of directors and trustees, okay, and corporate officers. Okay, the first principle or the first doctrine that you should always know with regards to corporation is doctrine of a corporate entity. Okay, if you can remember, we have discussed in the first meeting that according to the revised corporation code, a corporation is an artificial being, diba? And we have likened it with partnership in the sense that it is a juridical entity. It is a juridical entity that is separate from its stockholders, board of directors, and corporate officers. Yan. The doctrine of corporate entity is a basic principle in corporation law that the corporation has a personality separate and distinct from the officers and members who compose it. Not every stockholder or officer can bind the corporation, considering the existence of a corporate entity separate from those who compose it. Now, what's the relevance of this doctrine of corporate entity? It means that the corporation, from the word itself, or from the definition itself, is not the same. They're separate from, or it is separate from the stockholders, the board of directors, and the corporate officers. So, the liability of the corporation is the corporation's own liability. It cannot be shared, or the board of directors or the stockholders or the corporate officers cannot be generally liable solidarily with a corporation. So, if tatanungin mo kung anong use niya, it is a defense that this doctrine of corporate entity, when a corporation is sued or when the stockholders, board of directors, corporate officers are sued together with the corporation, yan ang ni-raise ng stockholders. That the corporation is a separate and distinct person from its stockholders and officers. Yun yung defense. So, ganun siya ka-importante. This is, kung titingnan mo, para siyang corporate mask. Yan yung corporate mask na tinatawag. Okay? It is separate from the stockholders and the board of directors. Okay? The second principle, doctrine of piercing the veil of corporate entity or the alter ego doctrine. Ngayon, na-discuss natin kanina yung doctrine of corporate entity, yung corporate mask. Ngayon naman, because of the existence of this doctrine of corporate entity, okay, minsan na-abuso yan ng stockholders ng board of directors. Okay? Why? Because it's a shield to any liability. How? Say for example, Corporation A, yan, meron silang 5 board of directors. Okay, ngayon si Corporation A, nalulugi na. Hindi na siya makabayad, madami siyang liabilities na hindi masettle. Okay? Ngayon, itong si Corporation A, nag-decide na mag-dissolve. Siyempre, malugi na. Ang ginawa nitong 5 board of directors, recreated another corporation na iba dun sa Corporation A. Sabihin natin sa Corporation B. But, its operations, the officers, the employees are the same with Corporation A. Kung sino yung nasa Corporation A, sila din yung nakay Corporation B. Ngayon, because of the doctrine of corporate entity, okay, ginagamit yan ng board of directors or stockholders to escape liability or to cover fraud. That's why ang ginagawa, pinipierce yung corporate veil, ginagawang liable yung board of directors. Why? Because parang sinicircumvent nila yung batas, ginagamit nila yung batas, okay, to protect fraud. Okay, yan yung doctrine of piercing the veil of corporate entity or alter ego doctrine. The corporate mask may be removed or the corporate veil pierced when the corporation is just an alter ego of a person or another corporation. For reasons of public policy and the interest of justice, the corporate veil will justifiably be pierced only when it becomes a shield for fraud, illegality, or inequity committed against persons. Okay? Kasi let's say for example, gaya ng example natin kanina, Corporation A, Corporation B, okay? Yung board of directors, employees, the same. Okay, ang ginawa kasi kapag nangyari yon na ma-dissolve ito, matakasan nila yung liabilities nila. Okay? And hindi mo sila pwedeng mahabol, yung board of directors, because of yung doctrine of corporate entity. Kasi nga, ang sabi natin, the corporation is separate from the individual, from the stockholders, board of directors, or corporate officers. Ngayon, sir, ibang corporation naman ito, sir, di ba? Yes, precisely, it's a different corporation. But it involves the same employees, the same business, the same board of directors. It covers fraud, di ba? Tinakasan nila yung liabilities nila, okay, because of taking advantage of the doctrine of corporate entity. Okay, ayan, ito yung corporate veil mo, yung nasa gitna, and then shareholders, and then yung corporation. So any liability of the corporation is the corporation's own liability. Yun yung doctrine of corporate entity. Okay? Ngayon, since the corporation is the corporation's own liability, the stockholders will not be liable if, for example, maubusan ng cash or ng assets si corporation. Okay? And it's okay if it really went bankrupt. But if it went bankrupt and the shareholders, okay, formed another corporation with the same employees, same procedures, same operations, okay, then it may just seem that the new corporation is just an alter ego of the old corporation. Parang the same lang din sila. Diba? Kaya ang ginagawa, pinipierce, binubutas yung corporate veil para maging liable si stockholders or sila board of directors. Okay, pag nangyari yon na nabutas yung corporate veil, the shareholders, the board of directors that are found to be liable should be made liable. Okay? Yan yung example ko kanina. Nagamit ko na yung Corporation A, Corporation B. Okay? How do we apply? So what are the elements of piercing the veil of corporate entity? Number one, there must be control. Not mere stock control, but complete domination of operations. Gaya dito, ABC and DF Corporation, let's say for example, ABC Corporation is held by 5 stockholders who themselves are the 5 board of directors. Ngayon, itong si ABC Corporation owns, let's say for example, 80% to 90% of the stocks of DF Corporation. And virtually, they held the majority of the stockholders in the DF Corporation, which means that ABC Corporation essentially controls DF Corporation. Yun yung ibig natin sabihin. But not just mere stock control, but regards to domination of the affairs of the other corporation. It is used to commit fraud or wrong or perpetuate a violation of the laws or protect fraud and perpetuate deception. Okay? Either commit fraud, protect fraud, or commit wrong to perpetuate a violation. Okay? Yun yung purpose ng paggawa ng corporation. Kung makikita nyo, I hope you understand, parang ini-escape nila yung liability nila. Okay? Gumawa sila ng corporation, nagka-liability, ngayon, gagawa ulit sila ng bago, since alam nila na mayroong tayong tinatawag na Doctrine of Corporate Entity, hindi sila pwedeng mahabol, okay? Hindi sila pwedeng mahabol, kaya sila gumagawa ng bagong corporation. So, yun yung to commit fraud or to protect fraud, di ba? Para takasan nila yung old creditors nila. Yan, and third is proximate cause. There must be a proximate cause between the control and the use, the control and the protection of fraud or the commission of fraud. Okay? Hindi porket one corporation owns a portion or owns a majority or decides for the other corporation, it does not mean that you apply piercing the veil of corporate entity. Okay? Hindi porket merong fraud na na-commit, you use the piercing the veil of corporate entity, there must be proximate cause. Ibig sabihin, that another corporation or another entity, okay, is being used to commit fraud, dapat there must be a proximate cause between them. Okay, same board of directors, the corporation is owned fully, sabi ko kanina, or significantly. Hindi naman necessarily 100, pero there are times na 100%. Corporation owned fully or significantly by faulting corporation. And there is fraud or a wrong. Tandaan, hindi porket owned significantly or substantially ng isang corporation, it does not mean that there is, that you could use piercing the veil of corporate entity. Dapat ma-prove mo rin that there is fraud. And you also have to prove that a corporation has been set up to protect fraud. Okay? Yun yung dapat mong i-prove. Hindi lang yung control. You should also prove fraud and that another corporation or another entity is created to shield themselves against fraud. Yun yung dapat mong tignan. So, control, used to commit fraud or protect fraud or perpetuate deception, and proximate cause between control and fraud. The third one is the powers of a corporation. Okay, hindi kasi dinidiscuss, but then you have to take note that when it comes to powers of a corporation, there are two general kinds. One is the one that is expressly conferred by the corporation code, or if it's created by special law or by charter, the one that is conferred by the special law or by the charter. So kung ano yung nasa corporation code, yun yung power ng corporation. Kung ano yung wala dun, hindi siya power ng corporation. What does that mean? The act then of the corporation becomes ultra vires. Ibig sabihin, wala sa power niya yung ginagawa niya. Kaya dapat yung nasa expressly conferred lang ng law. Okay? Second one is implied and incidental to its existence. Ano naman to? This one is one that is implied or incidental to the existence of a corporation or to its purpose or to its powers as expressed in number 1. Okay, so pwede na hindi siya expressly conferred by the corporation code, but pwede rin naman na implied yan or incidental yan sa existence, therefore power siya ng corporation. Usually pag may mga ganyan, magkakaabutan ng kaso, and then the Supreme Court decides, diba? If that power is implied or incidental to its existence. Then the last, trust fund doctrine. So makita niyo dyan, may picture yan. Bakit? Before, nung una pa lang itong doctrine na ito, kasi hindi pa na-establish ito noon. There was a time wherein bago lang itong doctrine na ito and nag-bar exams. And ang ginawa, lumabas ito sa bar exams. Itong trust fund doctrine. True story, dun sa bar exam may sumagot na kasi hindi niya talaga alam kung anong trust fund doctrine. Yan ang sinagot niya. Yan nakikita nyo, yan ang sinagot niya. Okay? But what is trust fund doctrine? We have described before the concept of subscribed capital, authorized capital, paid up capital, and outstanding capital. Okay? We'll focus more on subscribed capital. Subscription to the capital stock of a corporation constitutes a fund to which the creditors have a right to look for the satisfaction of their claims. Diba, if ma-recall nyo, when a stockholder or when a person subscribes to a capital stock, ibig sabihin parang he will promise that he will purchase or will pay the capital stock. Meron kasing times na hindi niya yan mabayaran na buo. So let's say for example, 100,000 pesos worth of capital stock, only 70% ang nabayaran. So meron pa siyang 30% na dapat bayaran. Okay? Ngayon yung buong subscription na yun, okay? Yun yung sinasabi natin dito. It becomes a fund to which the creditors have a right to look for the satisfaction of their claims. Pag may mga utang sila at naubos yung pera at meron pa siyang hindi na bayaran na subscription, unpaid subscription, yung unpaid subscription ng lahat ng stockholders becomes a fund. Para siyang a fund to secure creditors for their claims against the corporation. So kahit pa hindi pa siya bayad ng stockholder, pwede siyang i-claim ni creditor, yung third party. Okay? Kaya siya tinatawag na trust fund doctrine. Because once a person subscribes to a capital stock, okay, and has not fully paid them, okay, the fact that they are not fully paid is not a defense for the corporation. Ibig sabihin, yung subscription na yun is a proof na yung capital stock na yan is reserved for the creditors. Okay? And there are only 3 instances wherein distribution of capital to stockholders are allowed. Bakit? Because of the concept of the trust fund doctrine. Ang ibig sabihin nun, parang sa partnership, hindi mo siya basta-basta i-release sa stockholders, okay? Hanggat hindi mo na babayaran ang creditors. Why? Because it may happen that maubos yung liquid assets or yung assets mo and the creditors cannot anymore claim from the corporation. That's why nire-reserve yan for the creditors. Ito yung tatlong instance na pwede lang mag-release ng capital sa stockholders. Amendment of Articles of Incorporation to reduce authorized capital stock. Okay? Purchase of redeemable shares by the corporation regardless of the existence of unrestricted retained earnings and dissolution and eventual liquidation of the corporation. So itong tatlong instance lang na to, pwedeng mag-release sa stockholders. Okay? This adopts the concept of the trust fund doctrine. That the fund or the capital assets of the corporation are reserved to creditors, and these capital assets include unpaid subscriptions. Okay? Ayan. Diba? Pag yung person nag-subscribe, naging subscriber. Pag nagbayad na siya, ayan, paid na. Pero sometimes, yung subscription niya, hindi yan fully paid. Yun yung sinasabi ko. Okay? And the fact na hindi siya fully paid does not mean that he no longer have to pay the said unpaid subscription. He must pay the said subscription and he is liable for that kapag sakaling naghabol yung creditors. And there are also instances wherein the stocks may be redeemed by the corporation like treasury shares, redeemable shares, di ba? That's it for the principles of corporation.